We hear talk about one of the BRICS currencies that they are proposing as being backed by gold. In this day and age, where the budgets of countries run into trillions, is it even possible? Is it even feasible? That's a question that we are going to be asking. And some of the stuff that we are finding out here may surprise you, but do watch it till the end. I have a small infographic for you that tells you all the details, the logistics of such a gold-backed currency, and whether if it is feasible or not. So as always, please like this video, and if you have not already subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel.
Biggest gift I think that Rama has given me is a feeling of peace.
Therapists and doctors are doing a wonderful job here.
And here we go. So what is going on? The gold standard in the age of trillions. Why a return to gold-backed currency is unrealistic in the 95 plus trillion global economy. That's the size of the global economy right now. What are the real problems here? So what are the real problems? One thing is the amount of money that is going and the amount of total mined gold. The amount of money, that is global money supply, M2, is around 95 trillion, and the total mined gold till date, from whenever, go back 1000 BCE, whatever, is only 216,000 tons. So if you want to back the 95 trillion money supply, and that is today, and it is growing by trillions every year, gold's price would need to be astronomically higher, causing global economic chaos and unfairly empowering nations with large reserves. Hint, hint, India, China, perhaps Russia, and a few other countries, and it will absolutely leave Canadians paupers because they have sold all their gold. Anyway, so let's take a look at the current market price. In fact, the current market price is a little bit lower here. It says it's 2,300 per ounce. We know it is closer to 4,200 now. So this number is probably taken from a couple of years ago or a year ago. Let's take a look at the required minimum estimate. The minimum estimate of the gold per ounce has to be around $7,800 an ounce, and the maximum estimate, you have a min and a max, the maximum is $16,000 per ounce. Remember, we had episodes where we were talking about whether US would declare a higher value in its assets column for the gold it holds in Fort Knox, and we said that if that number is $24,000 per ounce gold, then it would completely wipe out the 37 trillion deficit that the US is facing today. Anyway, that's just a matter of conjecture here. And will countries like United States, United Kingdom, especially United Kingdom and the European bloc, will they allow something like this to happen? So that's why you see all the threats, like for example, Trump saying that any BRICS country that uses its own currency away from the dollar will attract 100% tariff. I mean, he said that. I don't think he has levied it, and I don't think he can levy it. Anyway, that's a topic for a different day. So what are the reasons? The first one, we told you the amount of gold that is there, limited amount, and what price it needs to be upwards adjusted to. Second one is the rigidity constraint. What is that? Modern economies rely on flexibility to fight recessions. A gold standard locks monetary policy in a rigid box, preventing central banks from responding to a crisis which can lead to a deflationary spiral. What is deflation? It is the opposite of inflation. So the problem with deflation is that if people know that what you're buying today is $10, will be available to you next month for $8, what do? They just stop buying today. So if everybody stops buying today, then what happens? The economy comes to a grinding halt because everybody is expecting the prices to fall. That is the problem with deflation, and much of the economic theory is all the PhD faluting guys from Harvard and Ivy League and wherever, Columbia or Chicago University, anywhere. All these people don't know how to handle a situation where there is no inflation at all. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. So when you have fiat currency, what happens when there is a crisis? What happens if there's an economic crisis is the central bank will inject liquidity and lower rates. Until 2008, this was not happening. They were just playing with the interest rates and trying to right the economy. But the great financial crisis of 2008 required, I think Ben Bernanke, if I remember correct, the federal governor, to introduce what is called as quantitative easing. And his rationale for introducing that was, he said, it is difficult to prove in theory, but works in practice. Anyway, so once that happens, the economy stabilizes and recovers to an extent. What he said is true. What happened was the 2008 crisis hit. All the banks, whether they were healthy or not, they were all forced some amount of money because many were public, and the hammering Hank, the treasury secretary, did not want some banks to unfairly have a bump in their stock price because they were deemed healthier than the others. So everybody was forced to take up some money, and I think many just sat on that money that the Feds gave for a year or two and then gave it back quietly, and that was accepted by the Fed, and right now things are much better. That was the fiat-based currency. Now, if you take a gold standard response, if there is an economic crisis, then what happens? The response is blocked by gold reserves. So what happens? Money supply shrinks. When money supply shrinks, then what happens is people feel poor. There is no money going around, and that has a downward spiral because everybody wants to save, and once you start saving and not spending, then that has a problem on its own, especially in countries like United States, where consumption economy is what drives the whole economy. Then what happens? It goes into a deflationary spiral and into a deep recession. So this is another problem for gold-based currency. See, the interesting thing is, historically, if you look at it, countries that abandoned the gold standard during Great Depression, this is the 1920s, late 20s, Great Depression, they recovered faster. I mean, United Kingdom did it, South Africa, which is a separate country, they did it at that time, and so on and so forth. Also, the mismatched growth. A healthy economy must grow, and its money supply must expand to support that growth. The physical supply of gold grows far too slowly to keep pace, creating a permanent structural constraint on the global economy. For example, if you look at as a percentage, if the required economic growth is around 6.5%, now the gold supply growth is only 2%. It's not growing at 6.5%. I'm talking about unearthing new reserves of gold. So there's going to be always a constant growth gap of 4.5%. That's minimum. Then what happens is the money supply would constantly fail to keep pace with trade and production, all but guaranteeing frequent and painful recession. Actually, if you look back at the United States, last 10-15 years, we have not seen a recession. One wonders why. Because these recession cycles are cyclical, and we have not seen one. What gives, guys? Some of you who are economists who are watching this video, maybe you can explain why the US and perhaps much of the West has not really experienced a recession. Except, of course, at the COVID time, there was a shrinking, but then the United States recovered quite nicely, like a V-shaped curve. So you can weigh in by way of comments why you think that after that, things are going so hunky-dory. Now, so the conclusion is gold is an unrealistic anchor. While the idea of hard money is appealing, a gold-backed currency provides discipline at the devastating cost of crippling economic flexibility, stability, and long-term growth. So there you have it. These are some of the challenges of going back to a gold-based currency. Then you can ask me, how is it that digital renminbi is assuring that you can either take digital yuan from China or the equivalent in dollars? Let Saudi Arabia insist on one complete shipment being paid in gold and see what happens. These are all stories being spun with one transaction of 1 kilo or 2 kilos of gold and saying that, Chinese digital yuan is working, the digital renminbi or gold is in place, but the reality says something else. Just wait and watch, guys. This is something that's going to happen soon. Somebody is going to test the Chinese gold assertions that they indeed have a currency that is backed by gold. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.